Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. How's your week going? Ours has been sort of crazy around here, but it's good. I'll take it. We had the flower exposition last week at Leanne. I'm so proud of the tulip bunch. We had prize winners, we had people making flower jewelry. Anyways, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you saw the pictures or not, but we had 8 fabulous tulips on site, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and they made more than 600 pieces of floral jewelry. 600. We did cuffs, we did rings, we did pin-on, stick-on. Oh my gosh, it was so cool. So thank you, tulips, if you're watching today, because that was wonderful. We flowered the entire garden. It was so much fun. If you missed it, you can go back, you can see the live stream that I did, and then you can also go through and look at the pictures. So much beauty in the garden, absolutely fabulous. A little bit of housekeeping. If you're on your phone, turn it sideways, make it a little bit bigger. If you're on your computer, you can go to full screen, making it even bigger. If you're on your TV, I'm already larger than life, so I guess we just get started. Today, we're talking profitability. I know many of you do weddings, events, parties, so your season is starting to wind down a bit, getting a little bit slower. Usually by Thanksgiving, you're almost done for the year. You might have one more, but it just isn't as happening until come January when the wedding shows begin again, and then the season begins in the spring, and you just go crazy taking off. But right now, this little respite, and now is when I challenge you to think about it, to think about what you did this year. How many weddings? How was the pricing? How was flower sourcing? How did it go creating the bids, the proposals? How much time did you put into your business? And I will challenge you, how much time did you put into you? Usually that's the part that gets left behind. So right now I'm saying, let's look at you, let's invest time in you, and let's look at profitability. We're going to need to look at flowers. Yes, you can see I have flowers. We're doing that. And we're going to be talking about that profitability. So, first question. We're talking about unlocking the profit potential. So what was your potential this year? I don't want a dollar amount. I don't want to hear that because that's you and we don't need to share it. But how many events did you do this season? Did you have 3 events? Did you have 30? Did you have 50? Did you have 300? I know it sounds like an enormous amount, but there are people that do that. I'll share with you the first year that I decided I was going to do weddings. I thought I was really hot and I was going to go do weddings. I think I only did 3. And I had to beg for those 3 because people didn't know I was doing weddings. I was the unknown, and so it was very difficult to get started. But so the first year I did 3. The next year I did 10 because it does start to snowball. And by the 3rd year, I was doing like 40 to 50 events a year. And then it just keeps going. That's the beauty of being an event florist. It does sort of snowball. So type in there. Of course, I want to know who you are, where you're from, and how many events did you do this summer? Maybe they were for your business. Maybe you were working for someone else. Doesn't matter. Maybe they were all for your family. Doesn't matter. It's still an event. How many events did you do? And then we'll kind of circle back to that. In the studio with me today, we have Teacher Michelle and Teacher Ricky. They're watching you on YouTube and Facebook so that they can see your comments let me know. The other side of the wall, we have teacher Carolyn with the class, because yes, we're still in flower school. Online, we've got Susie and Caledonia and David, so we're all here. And we have you. I hope you're typing in there. I hope that you are getting started, because we've got a lot to do today, a lot of things to talk about. So we'll give you just one quick time, 1 minute. I'm looking at the clock. Do you want me to do floral netting, or do you want me to do midnight foam? I'm going to create a compote arrangement. So is it netting or foam? We have 45 seconds. Let's see what comes in here, and I will go from there. We've got so many beautiful flowers to work with. That's going to make it easy. Any answers yet?
Netting, foam.
Oh, see, foam is winning on YouTube's side.
Foam is winning?
Netting is still winning on Facebook side.
Oh no.
Okay, so how many on Facebook for foam, and how many for netting? Or no, it was netting on Facebook, so about how many, and how many on YouTube for foam? Let's see who has the most here.
We've got 5 for foam on YouTube and 2 for netting.
And I've got 6 for netting and 3 for foam.
Netting's the winner.
Netting's the winner.
Okay,
That's
well.
all right.
Okay, we'll save the foam for something else, because it's already soaked, and you know we're supposed to use it if we soak it, but you didn't tell me I could use it, so a little bit of floral netting. See, and that's good for me to have to adapt to you. And that's part of the challenge of being a florist. You're always having to adapt to your clients, because they tell you what they want, and you have to figure out how to do it, how to create the magic, when sometimes it isn't exactly what you wanted to do. Maybe you wanted to use midnight foam, but they said, no, you're using floral netting. All those challenges. Then you tape it in place so that it stays secure. It's funny, when I started doing weddings, everything was done with paper and pencil. Computers weren't a thing. And so when you were working with a client, you'd get out your notepad and you'd be taking notes. And then you'd be scratching something out and rewriting it and scratching it out and rewriting it. And pretty soon you'd staple another page over the top because the bottom page was worthless now and you had all these new notes. Now, with the computer, it's so much easier. So much easier, because you can just take out whole segments. You can change it around. You can update it. You can keep a log of everything that's happened. And the communication can be digital with your client. Oh my gosh. I mean, it makes it so far superior. I know later in my career, when I was working in the wedding world, it evolved to where we had the computers, but everything was done on either a Word document or an Excel document, because there really wasn't software to make it easy for us. So it was still just a pencil and paper and a calculator updated to the computer for a Word document and Excel to do your calculations, but it was all still totally manual. And now today, there's so many choices. Ricky, if you could bring up my computer, I want to just show everybody one of the tools that's available now that's so grand. You can see my screen and it just says go to Lobiloo. Lobiloo is an amazing software program that is available to you where you can set in and put together a dashboard. If I go to all my events, you can see I've done so many different ones here. But if I come back to today's live stream, I've got it set up and I can keep track of my event details that I'm delivering for a Thanksgiving wedding. I made notes here. Be prepared for the steps. There are no guardrails. Don't you hate delivering to facilities that have stairs and you're carrying up all those arrangements? Oh, it can make you crazy. Then I can go to the arrangements, and I've already got a wedding bouquet in here and a centerpiece in here that I've loaded. You can see I've already added flowers with the centerpiece. I've got some of the flowers added. If I want to use the compote, I can go ahead and add that in here. I put it, there it is, the compote. I just take it and drag it across, and now that'll be in my recipe. How cool is that? Go ahead and come back out here, and I'll be with you all. You don't need to be looking at my computer. We can look at flowers. Way more fun.
And you have fun colors today.
I do. You know, it was so much fun. The golden mustard rose is such a good long-lasting rose and perfect for the autumn season. Then the brunia, you know, you're used to seeing them in the silver and the gray, but this rosy hue, and it's natural, is just grand. And then some beautiful lysianthus, ruffly, so much grand petaling on that. And then some hypericum. And then a few of the champagne ivory roses, because it'll just brighten everything. Now they're so much brighter. I'm going to use them a little lower in the design so it almost glows from the inside out. You'll notice I have no foliage up here. It's one of the things I'm finding. A lot of weddings now, or events, clients are choosing to be more flower focused and less foliage focused, which with the price of flowers means that's going to be a fairly expensive undertaking. But as long as you organize and calculate and price correctly, doesn't matter. If they want all flowers, they can have all flowers. You just have to calculate well and be sure to count every flower that you place. You can see just by tucking these in, starting to fill, getting a little bit of movement coming from side to side. And then hypericum. And I'm just feeding in using a central binding point. You know, flower school, something you learned the first lesson, working with a central binding point. So do we know how many events people have had?
They've typed in a few answers on Facebook, and there's kind of a big gap where I'm seeing 4 and 5 or a couple, and then 40 plus. So we're kind of on both ends of the spectrum there.
Okay, so if you had 4 or 5, conceivably, let's just guesstimate, let's say you had 5, and maybe you averaged $2,000. So that's $10,000 that you did in events. Don't need you to type this, but I want you to think. How much money did you make? What was your profit percentage? So if we extrapolate to $10,000, did you make $5,000? Did you make $2,000? Did you make $2? Did you lose money? I mean, that's very possible. It could be you lost money because being an event florist, you've got to speculate what those flowers are gonna cost you, and then set your pricing months in advance, and then go back and honor that pricing. So the question is, how much did you make? What was your profitability? My little floral netting doesn't want to hold it there. There we go. If you did 40 events, and let's say an average of 2,000, that's $80,000. Sounds like a lot of money. But what did it cost you to do that $80,000 worth of business? Do you know? Do you know what your percentage is? That's a really important number to keep track of. And now is the time to think about it. When you're in the thick of things, in the middle of the season, trying to figure out your percentages and such, you don't have the time and energy to even go there. So now, when you're in a little bit of a lull, when you gotta ask yourself these tough questions. Because if you don't work on pricing, estimating, recipe planning, when it comes to next year, and you still haven't quite figured out how you want it to be, could just mean another year of not as much profit as you would like. So if you got a question, something that you want to know about pricing and estimating, something I can share with you, we can share with everyone, or a tip that you can share with others. I'm going to put a couple more things in here, and then we're going to go over and recipe this out and see where our profitability is. Because if there's no profitability, you're not going to stay in business very long, and that's not very much fun. You want to make sure that we can stay in business. Trying to decide what other things I want to put in here. There's so much cool stuff on my counter. I'm like, oh my gosh. Maybe a little bit of leucadendron. It's in the Protea family. It's very heavy, so I'm going to let it come down low because it would visually pull the eye downward in the bouquet, and if it was up high, it would just look out of balance. So I'm tucking it down towards the bottom. They look like little baby pine cones. And repeat it on the opposite side.
Such a fun form on those, because everything else is kind of roundy, and then you've got those.
And all of a sudden it's like, ooh, now it looks interesting. I know. Too much fun. Maybe a little bit of Queen Anne's lace. To give a little texture, some movement. Let's see. This stem is a little bit crooked, so trying to find the angle to put it into the floral netting is getting a little bit tricky here. Give it another cut and see if it goes in better. There we go. That looks better. You can see just adding that little bit of icing on the cake softens it down. So Ricky, why don't you go ahead and pull this up.
Okay.
And when I look here, I didn't put hypericum in here yet, so I've got to find some hypericum. Let's see here. pull that over there. And I didn't use any of this strantia, so I'm going to take that out. I'll go ahead and add a little bit of the brunia so that I can leave that in there because it is pretty. I want to leave that in the recipe. Then if I go on to my cost calculator, I can type in how many I use. So let's say I use 3 of the Baronia, and on the cone leucodendron, I used 3. On the ivory rose, I used about 7 of those actually. Then Lysianthus, I used 4. And Catalina, nope, it was golden mustard. We'll just pretend that I didn't put that there. So garden rose, I have 1, 2, 3 of them. And then I have the compote. And on the hypericum berries, I think I used about 5 of those. And then I have to put in my pricing. And I wrote Baronia, it's supposed to be Brunia. Boy, I didn't do very good here. Brunia was about 75 cents each. And the cone leucodendron is about 95 cents each. The ivory roses were $1.10. The Lysianthus was 95. The garden rose, let's say $2.50. The compote was $12. And the hypericum, I don't remember what I paid for hypericum. Magic, see this little earth symbol? I can click it and it puts a price in for me. How cool is that? Oh my gosh. Now, not everything has a pricing on it, so some of them you still have to know, but that helps you so much. And then it tells you that your cost per this arrangement is $40.85. Then you decide what are you going to sell it for, and maybe I'm going to sell it for $150. And it tells me what my markup is and calculates it through. You think, oh no, I can't sell it for $150. I'm going to sell it for $125. Now I only have a 200% markup. Oh no, I can't do that. I've got to go back. It's got to be $150. Okay, now I've got my markup in there. But you can go through and calculate and play with that to get exactly where you want your pricing to be. Gives you a whole lot of power just working out the math of floral design. Go ahead and bring it back up here. So when you're working with Lavalo, the beauty is that it's faster. You don't have to get out the calculator. It calculates for you. Then if you change your mind and you decide you want one more flower or a different flower, you can change it. You can adjust it. You're not digging through papers, erasing, scratching, recalculate. You just change it. And it remembers it. And yes, it saves it. So like I can go back to my archived arrangements and look at things that I designed in here months ago. It's still sitting there. A year ago, still sitting there. So if you're doing something similar to another arrangement from another wedding, you remember, go back and look it up. Get some clues. What did I do last time? Oh yeah, that's right, okay. And then you can just put it in. So it makes it so much easier than if you had to go from scratch each time. So you're faster. It takes care of that last minute changing. You know, it takes away a lot of the boring part of being a florist. You're sitting there calculating over and over and over and double checking your math. That's boring. And it's scary, because what if you miscalculate? Oh my gosh, I forgot to add that in. Oh, I forgot to do that. Oh, I didn't mark it right. It takes away that fear. It gives you accuracy. It makes it so that it's easy to judge how to price. Because making pretty, that's the easy part. I mean, that's what we like to do. That's why we're florists, because we want to make pretty. counting those flowers and pricing. Not quite so easy. Teacher Michelle, what you got there?
Well, Sherry had a question. Can you add a photo of your arrangement to the program?
Yes, you most certainly can. And what I liked about it is I could even add my own flower picture. The app didn't have Brunia in it. Or let's say, okay, let's do this one. Okay. We'll just see how fun it is. Are y'all familiar with this little guy? It's a newer flower. See if anybody knows the name. But I can tell you, because this is a new flower that's just becoming available. It's grown in Colombia, close to the border with Venezuela, and it is proving to be a really wonderful profit center for the farm that is growing it because people love it. It's super long lasting, spiky, hard, not soft. They dry even, then you can paint them. But they're very cool, but they're not in the computer. So I can take my phone, take a picture of that. Let's see here. I should have Ricky doing this, it's the photography. Oh my God. But I can take a picture of it, then go in and just do a quickie edit.
We have a couple potential answers and they're all saying the same thing. So either they're very confident or not.
Or not. Okay, so now I have it in my phone and I can airdrop it to my computer. I know all these things. Oh my gosh. So I airdrop it. It ends up in my downloads. So go ahead and bring my computer up, okay? So then it's in my downloads. There it is, okay? So then if I want to add it to this arrangement,
Tess says, look at you being all technical, Leanne.
I know, it's scary, trust me. There it is on my computer screen, and I just drag it over here. Ah, it didn't go. Didn't do it. Why didn't it do it? Well, we'll do it this way then. We'll add it right here, select the file, double click it, there it is, upload it. And it's there, and then I can move it over and stick it in the arrangement, and then go back and add it to my recipe, which is right there. And let's say we're gonna do 3 of them, and they are $2, and my arrangement just went up to $46 now, so now I've got to raise my price, make it $175, and it's just done. Magic, like that. Okay, so let's go back and add 3 of these beautiful flowers, and it is called Stella. Did they get it?
They did. They are correct.
Yay! Yes, it is Stella. It is a very, very cool flower. Super strong, skinny stem, so you can just slide it down in easily. And it looks so light and delicate coming over the top. And the color, so grand. So I just added 3 Stella, and I just added my picture. Now if you had a picture of an arrangement, you can do the same thing. Just load it right into your computer, and then you can add it to the recipe, which makes this whole program a great tool for communicating with your coworkers. Because you can say, this is the picture that we want it to look like, this is the recipe, these are the flowers, boom, there you go, hello. Okay, New question for you. And it's just yes or no. Yes or no. Have you tried using a recipe software? I've experimented with it for several years, and Lobiloo started, gosh, it's been 10 years ago. I think they started in 2013, 2014, I think 2013. So they are established. They're a company that's reliable. It's a solid platform. You don't end up going, wah! And so it's just an easy one to work with. And I've worked with them for many, many years, and each time been very happy. So the question is, yes or no? Have you worked with the recipe software?
They are starting to chime in on that, so that's good. A couple questions came in. One, Anne wanted to know where the focal would be in that round since you've added the Stella.
Well, and that would imply that I have one. And I have to determine which is my front and which is my back. And I'm going to vote that this is my front. And I'm going to vote that my focal emphasis area would be here, but I have a gaping hole right there. I need one more balloon to fix that hole. And then that would expand the emphasis area. There we go. So that it fills it in just that little bit, makes it all work. So, good question. Other questions?
Sailor was wondering, with the software, how do you handle edits or if somebody wanted to cut back on their flowers?
That's what makes it so easy. If they want to reduce their flower count, you go in and you just change the number. I only need to do 3 now. I can only do 2. Or no roses, 0, 0, 0. And it recalculates everything for you. They need to add a centerpiece. You change it to 27 centerpieces, and it puts it right in there. So it all calculates out. So the edits are actually quite easy.
Well, you sold Sailor because you just said, okay, I'm ready to try Lavalo now.
You know, it's worth experimenting, and now is the time. You know, we get so busy, and then you're exhausted. But if you don't take that time while you're exhausted to spend some time planning and organizing and preparing, you're just going to get busy again and not have the problem solved. So taking the time now is to your advantage, because you can make decisions as to, is this something that works for you or not? Does it simplify your life? And you can get a free test with them. I think it's a 2-week test thing where no commitment, just I'm going to try it for 2 weeks. And my challenge is to you, take that 2 weeks and really experiment with it. Plug in. You don't have to really make an actual event, but make a fantasy event. Or take one of the events that you did this last summer and plug it in there and see how it lays out. Does it show that you made money? Does it show that you lost money? Is it efficient to work with? All the things that you need to kind of question yourself on, experiment. Do it now. You know, you've got time. And maybe you don't have time, but you have more time now than you're going to have next season. It's going to get crazy busy. So you really do have to take the moment while you can. And I know I procrastinate just as much as the next person. And I think, oh, I don't have time right now. I don't have time right now. But I know that if I don't take the time, then I'm just going to keep pushing myself down that path. And pretty soon, it's too late. And if you don't make a profit, then why are you even doing this? Because it's not a charity, it's a business. And if your business isn't making money, then you can't afford to hire anybody to help you. And if you can't afford to hire anybody to help you, then pretty soon you just sort of give up because you can only do so much. And if you're trying to do everything all by yourself because you're not making enough money, and you're spending so much time doing the bids and the estimating and the recipes, so that sometimes you just sort of fake it, and then you discover, oh my gosh, I didn't make any money. That really didn't work. I shouldn't have faked that. But you did. So take that time now and be thinking about it. How do you use the software to solve your problems? You know, the things that make you crazy, how do you use it to take away that frustration, to take away the terror of, am I pricing correctly? You know, it's part of the battle for an artist is believing in your pricing. Does that get you sometimes where you think, oh, am I charging the right price? Is that too much? Is it not enough? Am I correct? And one of the benefits of a tool like this is it helps you validate what you're pricing, and it lays it all out for you right there to where there's no gray area. You can see this is what it costs and this is what happens. And that validation, when it comes to being a floral artist, makes it so easy. Easier, I won't say easy. Makes it so much easier to be a profitable business. Teacher Michelle.
So Monica said, quote, "You are a business, not a charity," and she absolutely loves that statement. And Angela had a question. She said, does the software, or can you, allow for wastage in the pricing, so shrink or loss?
It doesn't calculate that for you. I know when I teach in the classroom, I tell people to anticipate you could easily have 10% in shrink or loss, because you always have to have enough that something gets broken or it's damaged or it just doesn't hold up well. So in your pricing, when you figure out your profit level, you want to make sure that you have kind of calculated that in, because there's not a line item for it. But you'll want to add in to make sure that your profitability does cover for that. Because as we all know, not every single flower is perfect and ready to go. Some of them are a little bit damaged, and so then you can't sell them, but you paid for them. So you've got to be covered in your pricing so that you can still make a profit. So, yeah. As artists, you know, they'll always say, well, can you do it for less? Or does it really have to be that much? It's like, yes, it does have to be that much. No, I can't do it for less. And I find when I use the Lavalo software, it makes me stronger in my own mind, because it shows me right there, this is what I need to charge, and I don't have to guess. And I found when I work with clients, that they trust me more when they know I'm sure about my pricing. And with the software, I feel like I can be sure about my pricing, so then I convey that belief, that trust that they can have for me, because I know this is the correct price. I'm not guessing. Everything is accurate. I'm not accidentally leaving something out, or accidentally charging for something twice, or accidentally forgetting something. It's all right in there. So the accuracy lets people trust you better. It lets you trust yourself, lets you believe yourself. And when you trust yourself and you believe yourself, it's easy to set a price and stick with it. It's kind of interesting how just that knowledge can make everything in your life so much better. Michelle?
So here was another question. If I have already done an event and I go back to it later to pull a recipe, but my prices have changed, can I save the original and make a new recipe, or do I lose what that original pricing was?
You would want to resave it so that you keep your original and then make a copy of it and move forward. That way you'll have the original that you can always look back at so you know what was, and then you can update the new one with current pricing and have both for reference. Yeah, always make a copy, save. Don't delete. Never remove something. Even though the event's over and you're done, you think I'm never going back there, save it. Because you never know when you want to go back and look at that to see what you did and what the profitability was. I fell in love with the whites and the silvers when I was shopping, and so I thought, well, I'm going to do a wedding bouquet using the silver Ringium, Dusty Miller, Nigella, Veronica, and Estrantia. Doesn't that look great for winter? Absolutely gorgeous.
A nice gray, dusty gray bow on there, kind of mimicking the Dusty Miller. Oh, wouldn't that be beautiful, like a velvet?
Oh, velvet would be grand on this. A little bit of seeded eucalyptus. Excuse me. You can tell I lost my voice this last week. Yeah, I talk too much. But it's sort of coming back, but I'm still kind of like, not 100% perfect. So then let's bring up the computer again.
So you asked a question earlier of how many people had or had not used software. The majority of our folks online today say no, but a few of them had and used different software than what we're talking about today.
You know, there are so many choices. I definitely recommend that you explore, get a test version, and see how it works for you. Because some of them are easier to work than others. Some are really hard. And so if you plan ahead and just start testing, that's the way to go. Now look at this. Click my little globe and it puts my pricing in for me. Oh, I love this. This part makes me so happy. And I didn't use any ivory roses, so I'm going to take that back out because I didn't put them in. So I just zero it and it makes it easy. Then it tells me I have $47.73. I'm going to say I want to sell it for $175. And it tells me my markup. And then it gives me my subtotal. And look at this. It gives me my gross margin. That is so important to know your gross margin. That's where you discover, are you making money or not? It really comes down to, you need to know what's left. And if you don't have a high enough margin, then you need to go back and recalculate your pricing. Maybe you need to go back and make this $195. Oh, look how easy that was. And it comes back and it recalculates and tells me I have a 74% margin. So simple. Go ahead and bring it back up to me. So I've added a few leaves to finish off the back here, just to tidy it, and then I'll use a little bit of bind wire.
Well, everyone's loving that bouquet.
You know, and it was so easy to price out. It was almost as easy to price out as it was to make. You know, think about that. Then if I had, let's say these were for the attendants and I had 3 of them, I just make that number 3 of these and it calculates my total number of flowers. Yeah.
So it does the stem count for you.
It does. So what I find, somebody asked about the shrink and your loss and such. What I find is if you work with a recipe software like this. Lavalo is one of the easiest I've ever found, and so complete, so easy. But you buy smarter because you have everything recipeed for you and you have your stem count. So it reduces your waste. So it makes you a more eco-florist because you're not throwing things away. It makes you a more profitable florist because you're not throwing things away. And it makes it so that you know you're buying the right things. You know, how many times do you second guess yourself and you go, oh, I wish I would have bought a little more, I wish I did this, and you don't know, but you think, oh my gosh. Whereas if you had it recipeed, you just go in, you buy your things, and it's done. It makes it so easy. Now set this aside for a second, move a few things around.
Sue said she tried Lobiloo's 14-day free trial last year and she really liked it.
Oh, good. Excellent. You know, it's not the fun and sexy part of being a florist, having to figure out the computer and the pricing and all of that. But at the end of the month, when you made money instead of lost money, all of a sudden it seems really sexy and wonderful. All of a sudden, the fact that you spent some time on the computer, kind of a good deal.
Plus, it gives you a presentation format when you go to meet with the client, right? It lets you show kind of a tidy, professional looking outline.
You know, but let's go back over here. So when I have my things in, let's make this all a little bigger, there we go. I can go ahead and download an order form. And it gives me what flowers I need. Let's see if we can make the whole thing bigger here. So it tells me I need Veronica, Astrantia, Nigella, and I needed 3, 5, 3, 7. Now if I had changed that to where I was doing 10 of something, that would say 30, 50, and it would give me that total of everything I need all together. Now this one has combined the wedding bouquet and the centerpiece into one list because I have it all on the one recipe. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'll take it. So then, I'm not going to save that because I can go back and get it later. Let's go back and grab it again. If I want the full order form, because that was just my little shopping list. This one actually shows me my markup, my pricing, and everything. The other one hid the pricing. So if you wanted to just print out the recipe to give it to your co-workers, they don't need to see all of the part with the pricing, but you can go back and look at that pricing so that you've got it. Now, here is an estimate so that you can get ready and import it or send it. You can even say, you know, prices may be adjusted based upon the market rates. We reserve the right to make substitutions. So this gives you everything you need for the client, and you can even manage payments through here. You can export this to a PDF so that you can just email them a PDF of it. Go ahead and bring it back up to me for a second. If you export it to a PDF, you can print it all out. Now I just print this in black and white, but you could print it in color so that you could give them everything that you're going to do so that they have a hard copy to look at. It gives the pictures of the materials you're going to be using, gives the disclaimer. You know what? We may have to substitute if Mother Nature doesn't behave. But all of that is ready. I mean, think about how hard it is sometimes to get a presentation ready to give to the client. And here, you just click the buttons and you've got it. So you don't have to stress nearly as much. Now, your style might be like this, or maybe your style is a little more minimal. This was a clear globe. It's flat on one side, so it's not going to roll around. Hole in. Could be like a succulent terrarium, but it could also be done with flowers. And this is those wonderful acrylic Kinzons. We've started using them in the classroom a bit. Just get a little bit of water on their feet and secure it down in. And that's not going to go anywhere. So now I can add flowers directly into that. I know. So if this is your style, whoever had asked me, can I put my own pictures? Yes. Take a picture, put it into your collection. There's a category called miscellaneous where you can put as many things as you want to in there. You can add flowers, you can add foliages, you can add this container, you can add a picture of the Kinzon, so that when you put the recipe together, you actually put that into your recipe as well, so that whichever staff member is helping make these, they know, oh yeah, we go get the round ball and we need the Kinzons, and then we go get our flowers. I wish they had this when I was being a wedding florist, because I had so many Excel spreadsheets. I mean, my computer was just like a nightmare with all those spreadsheets. And they were always messy, because trying to keep it organized, this keeps it organized. Keeps everything into one package. So this is the Smith-Jones wedding. Here's all the pieces. Here's the cumulative flower list. I need 27 centerpieces, I need 6 boutonnieres, I need 3 bouquets. Yeah.
So Leanne, when you take the picture, let's say that the bowl with the Kinzon as your design, how do you recommend they kind of catalog it? Should they name that design after the client? You'd say it's the Ricky bowl or the Leanne compote or something like that. Can you search for names of things after the fact?
You know, that's a good question. And I don't have an exact answer for you. I would probably name it descriptively for the arrangement, not the client name. Because if you do the Ricky bowl for Judy, they're like, why am I getting a Ricky bowl? But if you have an orchid bowl, then it can be for anyone. So I would say name it descriptive. And the way that our computers are these days, I mean, it's almost scary. If you have it with enough descriptors, then you can just search your computer. I need that orchid bowl arrangement, and you can type that in. It'll bring up the various files that you have that show an orchid bowl arrangement, and that way you could then add it into the client whenever you wanted to. So I would say name it in a very descriptive word. Now, this is a cymbidium, obviously a little big for the bowl, not going to fit, but such a cost-effective item. The single stem is very costly, but each bloom, when you calculate them down, gives you a whole lot of drama, very long-lasting quality for a very affordable price. The key is to always cut from the bottom. Leave the top pretty and go ahead and cut from the bottom, because then you still have a whole stem that is pretty for display or can be used for something else. And then when you go to design, when you work with the Kinzon in the bowl, you've got to think about how you want your stems to set, because whatever you put in last will show more, and whatever you put in first, you're having to work around it. So if I put the orchids in first, chances are I will damage their petals, and so I want to save them till the end. So I just get them ready, and I think, okay, what am I going to use to cover my mechanics? I might want to add a little bit of water.
That globe reminds me of the ones that you would fill with water and put the flower in from the bottom.
Oh, yes, I have one of those. Didn't we all have one of those at some time or another? If I add the roses underneath, so much like I did here, and then a little bit of the brunia. The software is flexible to whatever your style is. If you're foam free, everything you do can be foam free. If you are very, very contemporary and minimalist, you can do that. If you are very full and rustic, you can do that. So it's not limiting in style in any way, shape, or form. And you can standardize how you want the words to be as far as, refund policies, delivery policies, deposits required. You can personalize all of that. You don't have to follow some set standard. You can make it be yours. So tucking these down in, just right into the teeth. You can see, just kind of tucking it in.
What a great use if you had shorter stemmed flowers to begin with. I know some of the rose varieties we love the most around here don't have the longest or strongest stems.
And using a Kenzon, you need that much. You really don't need a lot. And if you place it inside an orb like this, you can just tuck it. And then thinking about orchids being social creatures, so letting them speak to each other, tucking their heads, finding the perfect little hole, nestling it down into the Kenzon. See it from all different sides.
And even though we've been talking about events today, you could still use this software if you were a small individual florist, couldn't you?
It is actually quite good for just pricing out individual arrangements. If you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and you want to recipe out your centerpiece, you can put it in there and use the exact same software for all your Thanksgiving orders or your Christmas orders, Valentine's orders, making it so that when you go to place your flower order, you have all the recipe right in there and it calculates it out for you. So yes, super, super wonderful way to use it. Now, I've got everything on the inside. If I wanted to bring a little bit to the outside, using some flax, and just stripping it down. And then taking the back side of the knife, softening it.
There was a question on whether this software would generate a thank you note, and I don't think it does. I think that's more customer management software, right?
Correct. I don't believe that is in there, but that's the type of thing you might want to suggest. The people that own Lavalo, it's a husband-wife team. The wife is actually a flower farmer who also does weddings. So she uses the software for herself. Then the husband is more tech focused and he helps make sure that the whole thing is usable and works well. Then they have Becca, who helps make sure with customer communication. So if you have a question, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I can't quite figure out how to do blah, 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 blah. And they'll help you. There's a real live person that will talk to you, and you know how hard that is these days. But you can actually get a real live person and chat with them. But that would be the type of thing you say, you know, I really wish there was some customer management aspects to this. Have you considered, and who knows, maybe they will. Okay, I just threw you under the bus, Adam, but. So just wrapping it around the outside to give a little bit of movement style. Then now that I know this is what I want to make, I go back, I add in the recipe, calculate out that I need 30 of them, and then it's going to tell me that I need 60 cymbidium blooms, that I need 90 champagne roses, and I need 90 stems of brunia, and 30 stems of flax. Now, if I put in that I used half a stem of flax, it would then tell me I need 15 stems of flax. It would give me that entire list ready to go. Okay. If you're like me, figuring out the calculations and the orders isn't the fun part. Making pretty, that's what I like to do. With Lobiloo, it gives me more time to make pretty, makes it more accurate. Overall, it's a win-win. So now you know what I think you should do during these slow months right now before the season begins again. Take time, invest in yourself, explore software, and come to Flower School. You know what? Join us online. You'll learn more about pricing. Trust me, that's in every single class, because I don't want starving artists. We want to make sure you're profitable. And you'll learn the art, and you'll learn the business of floral. So next week, we're talking Thanksgiving, I believe. Oh my gosh, tis the season. So who knows, maybe Michelle will recipe out all of her Thanksgiving orders on Lavalo. We'll see. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week. I promise I'll get my voice back totally by then, but Teacher Michelle will be with you next week, and I'll be on the other side of the camera having fun watching. Have a great week. Bye for now.